One thing I've grown up to realize is that, of which I thank God, and I thank my mother, that I have photographic mind. And also, not forgetting my father, Lando. Lando, what I inherited from him, apart from what people say, the looks, what I inherited from my father is, if my father he was to prepare, what do you call, a composition, you would he would cover everything. He would cover everything. He was a good communicator. But when it comes to memory, talking of things that happened when very many decades ago, I am capable of talking of things that one would think it happened just last week. I have many examples, but I'll just, because there is something here that my photographic mind tells me, but when I came across the documentation, imagine one of the documentation is dated a day before I was born. Yes, I was born on a Sunday, but the eve of my being born, Saturday, there is a document I came across dated that day. And that document, signed by the governor of the colony and protection of Kenya, is right. So those people who are telling me whatever they were telling me were wrong. And I can't doubt my memory because I happen to have that talent. But I'll give all both the two versions. I have always grown up knowing, and I even met family members of the military officers who talked to me something. And I've always believed that the way we talked and whatever, some of this information I was even being told 1969 when I was in Standard 2. But when I come and find Kenya Gazette signed by the colonial, what do you call, signed by the colonial governor of Kenya and Protectorate, then I have no option but to accept that those who told me were wrong, because my memory is photographic. I'm not boasting, but that is the fact. To show you that, there's a time when I was in Standard 2, 1969, that there was a chief. The chief was in Kajiado. His name was Francis Olerisa. Francis Olerisa was the chief of Kajiado. He later became a paramount chief, and he was even a personal friend of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. But this chief was illiterate, and my own father, Lando, grew up being a typist. He went to Uganda and learned typing. So this chief used to tell my father about his own issues, and he would tell my father to type them, and my father would type. So every weekend, we could leave Kajiado. Me, I was a Standard 2 boy. We could leave Kajiado, go to a place called KMQ, mile 46. We would go to mile 46, where they would sit, and the chief would tell my father things. He would tell my father things about himself, and my father would repeat it while writing short notes. And he would ask the chief if those things reflect his thoughts. And when the chief made what do you call, corrections here and there, then the next weekend we would meet there. My father is at the driving seat, and Chief Olerisa is on the other side, and I would be seated in the middle, and they would talk. So in 2017, just the other day, 2017, I went to Kajiado, met the children. That is when I learned that Olerisa died long time, sometimes before. If I would have gone there a year or so before, maybe I would have met him. Then I started telling them about, I started remembering the contents of what my father had typed. And one of the Olerisa sons, if anybody is in Kajiado, any of my viewers who is in Kajiado can go, after watching this, go and ask the Olerisa sons near Masai store. They'll tell you there, yeah, this man came and tukamuita jini. They called me a ghost. One even said he wants to bring a ghost exorcist. He told me that whatever I was saying, their father never told them. It is only that their father had said that when he dies, they should open the briefcase and read what was there. And it is what I was saying. Now, I was saying what my father had typed, and it was in my mind. And it is something that they had, around 2015 is when they read those things. So they were wondering, we have just known you the last 2 hours. We never knew you. We just known you. You have come, you have told us everything, which is true. And how did you know something that our father had hidden from 1969? So that is how it is. I remember things like yesterday, and I met relatives of these officers, but whatever the relatives used to tell, and I didn't meet them together. No, I met them in different places. And they used to give me different informations. I mean, not different information. They gave me information which is agreeing. For example, Dolo's son, if you are somebody who comes from Makueni and you know the family of Dolo, you can inquire and be told one of his sons, I think the son was called Philip, was in Kajiado Primary Boarding School, PBS, in 1969, and he was my classmate. So he talked to me when we were both in Standard 2. And then there is also Tumbo. Between the police headquarters, Central Bank, KICC, and the Technical University of Kenya, there is a road called Lieutenant Tumbo Street. Yes, I met Peter Kavita Tumbo, the son of Lieutenant Tumbo, around 1984. From 69 to 84, that is, I think, 15 years. From 69, yeah, that is 15 years. And we were working with Peter Kavita Tumbo, and he told me about his father. And it agreed with what Philip Ndolo used to talk about his father, Ndolo, Major General Ndolo. But then I recently came across a Kenya Gazette signed by the governor of Kenya. The Kenya Gazette cannot be wrong. Even if these two people, we never met and whatever they were telling me was not exact, it was, let's say, 83% true. But what I'll do is I will go by the Kenya Gazette, which was signed by the governor and which I came across within the last 2 weeks. It is about the very first Africans to be commissioned as military officers. The very first people, Africans, to be commissioned as military officers. Remember those days, Kenya Air Force started in 1964. So we did not have an Air Force. Navy, nobody talks about the Navy. And even if we had Navy, those of us who can remember 1973, 74, Navy, if you look at the Navy, Kenya Navy today and compare it to the time of Lieutenant Colonel Kimaru. Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Kimaru was the Army commander, no, not Army, Navy commander in 1973 to 75. You cannot compare the Navy of 1973 under Lieutenant Colonel Kimaru to today's Navy. So basically, we just had one army, and the army was called King's African Rifles. We later changed we later changed it and had two names. Now, depending on the way you walk up, if you walk on the left side, you'd call it Kenya Army. But if you walk it on the right side, you call it Kenya Rifles. That is why you find battalions in the Kenya Army. They are called 5th Kenya Rifles, 7th Kenya Rifles, and so on and so forth. Now, we are talking about the very first people to be commissioned as military officers. They were commissioned in 1961 or 1960 because the Kenya Gazette I got was commissioning them from second lieutenant to full lieutenant or lieutenant. It was also some years before then that the Kenya police appointed some NCOs to be inspectors of police, Africans. And then when they appointed Africans to be inspectors of police, these people included Kina Muturindari, who was a sergeant major in the police. So in the police, what they did is that the Kina Muturindari, Kina Michael Arum, those are the people who were made inspectors. But Kenya had not attained independence. So the British did not like the idea of European NCOs saluting African inspectors or African commissioned officers. So in the police, what they did is that they took the police officers, Kina Michael Arum, Kina Muturindari and others, and took them to the CID. They took them to the CID because in CID, even the director of CID, he's a DIG. It is not compulsory to salute him. So they were placed in the CID saying that since they are detective, they are not supposed to be saluted. But later, they were promoted to chief inspector. So when they were promoted to chief inspector of police, it was said that when they were promoted to the rank of chief inspector of police, it was said that police inspectors should not be saluted because that rank had now Africans in it. And that is why even up to today, general duty police officers do not salute inspectors. Any other AP, NYS or anything, you have something on your shoulders, you are saluted. But in the Kenya Police Service general duties, they don't salute. That was the tenet. Now we go to the army. The army, they felt that some military officers were to be commissioned. And then when they were commissioned, there was also a challenge. How does a European NCO salute an African lieutenant? So they came up with an idea that yes, you are given pips. Pips ni mawe. You are given pips, 1 pip. But if you are a European, you are called a second lieutenant. But if you are an African, you are called a subaltern officer. Unavaa nguo kama yule mwingine. Unavaa uniform the same. But then, when you are being introduced to people, mzungu anakuwa introduced as Lieutenant so and so, Lieutenant James. But Mwafrika anakuwa introduced as subaltern. If you go to the meaning of subaltern means the same as as a lieutenant. But then Africans and whatever, they were told, this African is not a lieutenant, he's a subaltern officer. So later on, when Kenya was about to gain independence, that is when now they decided to just combine the names and call them second lieutenant, and so on up to other ranks. So a day before I was born, I was born on 16th July 1961. Uh, some eight, second lieutenants. You see, they were subalterns, but they were now called second lieutenants. It is just like prisons, Kenya prisons. The other day, constables were called prison warders, isn't it? But now they are called prison constables. Just the thing of Sweni constable to come constable police. So subaltern was just changed. When subaltern is in lieutenant to come a lieutenant wa army. So I was born on Sunday, 16th July, 1961. But on Saturday, 15th July, 1961, a day 24 hours before I was born, there were 8 people, 8 second lieutenants who were promoted to full lieutenants. There were 8. One of them, because in disciplined forces, the name that appears first, you cannot write 2 names. One name has to appear. Even people who are born twins, usually the one who was born 2 minutes ahead, si ndio anakuwaga mkubwa. So you find that out of the 8, some never came to be known, but I'll only make references to those who became popular later. Some can never be traced. There was Jackson Kimeu Mulinge. His name appeared first. Jackson Kimeu Mulinge. Second name was Joel Ndolo. It's not the second name, but among the 8 names, Mulinge names appears ahead of Ndolo. And again, you find that the other 6, they just ended up somewhere there. They cannot even be remembered. Maybe in their home village only. So, yes, Jackson Kimeu Mulinge and Joel Ndolo were promoted from second lieutenant to a full lieutenant on the same day, Saturday, 16th July 1961. But if you follow the regulations, Mulinge's name appeared first. Then on 22nd February 1962, that is 6 months later, some other second lieutenants were also promoted to be full lieutenants. But before I go to the list of the others, you find that in their way of working, both Mulinge and Ndolo, Mulinge was considered senior to Ndolo. Maybe, I don't know. Even when they were being employed as recruits, maybe Mulinge was employed ahead of Ndolo. So it reached a stage, before I go to the second list of officers who were made second lieutenants, you find that later on, there was the Brigadier Hadi. Brigadier Hadi, a Mzungu, was the army commander of Kenya Army. And his deputy was Lieutenant. We did not have a full colonel, but his deputy was Lieutenant Colonel Jackson Kimeu Ndolo. When it comes to Joel Ndolo, he was the commanding officer in Nakuru. Is it Lanet? Yeah. Lanet Gilgil, I don't know. But he was in Nakuru as a commanding officer. Same rank with the Mulinge. But you see, in military terms, even police, you'll find that nowadays, it doesn't apply nowadays as it was during our time. You'd find that the OCPD was there, and the deputy OCPD was of the same rank as the OCS. They used to put on the same. But since the deputy OCPD had acquired the rank of chief inspector ahead of the OCS, so he was basically the boss of. And that one also happened in the army. Army, they had a few battalions, and each battalion was headed by a lieutenant colonel. But one lieutenant colonel was at the headquarters as the deputy army commander. It is just the same way I can tell you that in a district, we used to have a district commissioner, and the DO1 used to deputize that. But the problem, the only difference here is the DO1 was a different job group than the ordinary DOs in the field. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. So, no, Ndolo was the one who was, Ndolo was in Nakuru as the commanding officer. Ndolo was in Nakuru as the commanding officer, and Mulinge was deputizing Brigadier Hadi. Brigadier Hadi, if you remember very well, you are told of somebody who took an helicopter to Jaramogi and told him to be the president, and Jaramogi said, no, let Kenyatta come out. That is the one. Now, there was a mutiny in East Africa, 1964. And the mutiny, not okay, Kizungu ilikuja na meli. The mutiny, those who were in the mutiny were court-martialed by Ndolo. Ndolo, his, the army headquarters is still where it was. A lot of people call that stage at the DOD. That is not DOD, that is army headquarters at Alinga. When you go to DOD, DOD imejificha huko nyuma, hidden there. But army headquarters was there. So those military people who mutinied in 1964 were court-martialed by Mulinge, not by Ndolo. They were court-martialed by Ndolo in Nakuru. So President Jomo Kenyatta, to thank Ndolo for the court-martial, he promoted Ndolo to the rank of full colonel. And Ndolo became a full colonel, which meant Mulinge had to go to Nakuru, Lanet, is it? Okay, whatever it is. Had to go to Nakuru, and they had to exchange. And Mulinge started saluting Ndolo, whom he considered to be his junior. So that is how their difference started. And when Ndolo wanted to overthrow Jomo Kenyatta in 1972, Mulinge, it can be said that Mulinge got an opportunity to revenge by disclosing that, and then Ndolo was taken out and Mulinge took over. I just wanted to emphasize that before I go to the second lot of subaltern or second lieutenants who were promoted to the rank of full lieutenant. There were several, there were many, but then I just wanted to concentrate on those who later came to be known. We have those who died, there are those who retired, there are those who never were. Just like me, I did a lot. I joined the police the same day with 33 people in the same class. But we completed the course when we were 272. I'm the only one who's known. Hao wengine, they go and tell people, unajua kwa tenge tuliandikwa na siku moja. So that is what I'm trying to say. We have lieutenants who were promoted the same time with these ones, but they just faded away slowly by slowly. I'll only concentrate on those who later became to be known and who later became to be famous. They were promoted from second lieutenant to a full lieutenant on 22nd February 1962. One was Reuben Mabwa. Reuben Mabwa continued, and I think he retired in 1978 at the rank of brigadier. Him retiring at the rank of brigadier, I remember. If it's 1978 or anything around there, I'm not very sure of the year, but it was around between 76 and 80. But he retired honorably the rank of brigadier. Why am I saying so? You see, around when Jomo Kenyatta died, the most senior officer was a major general. Now, for someone to retire as a brigadier, that is the second highest rank. Nowadays, brigadiers, there are so many that even if they were to vote for you, if all of them were to vote for you, you'd become an MCA. Then there is also Lucas Ruben Matu Moreithi. He had four names: Lucas Ruben Matu Moreithi. But a lot of people came to know him as Brigadier Matu. Now, in 1962, he was just promoted from the second lieutenant to uh, full lieutenant. But 16 years later, he retired. And if anybody who knows about Nakuru politics, there is a time when James Ephantus Mungai, the provincial police officer who was associated with Ngoroko, was a law unto himself. There is a day he went to Nakuru, laid a roadblock. As Brigadier Matu was leaving and whatever, he was stopped at the roadblock, placed in the cells, handcuffed and placed in the cells, and all the military formations in Nakuru surrounded Nakuru police station, saying, "You cannot arrest our brigadier." And it was even more serious because when he was arrested, unajua, if he had made a mistake, then we could understand, but he had not made a mistake. And even the police, if you discover that the person you are dealing with is a military officer, you involve the military police. But then James Ephantus Mungai had done that deliberately. Unajua, he was very close to the president. Among another person who was also promoted from second lieutenant to full lieutenant on 22nd February 1962 was John Charles Kalima Tumbo. Lieutenant Tumbo, if you are next to the police station, between the police station and the central bank, and between KICC and TUK, Technical University, there is a road called Lieutenant Tumbo Street. I was with his son. I was with his son in 1984 to 87, working with the NIS in West Pokot. And he used to tell us, and people used to say, that his father is the one whom the road called Lieutenant Tumbo is named after. And he even himself used to say he's from Mitaboni and is the son too. But the way he used to look humble and whatever, I used to believe that he was cheating. And it took me a long time until very many years later, I think in the 1990s, when his mother died and she was placed on obituaries. And yes, it was written that she's the mother to Peter Kavita Tumbo of the NIS, and she was the widow to Lieutenant Tumbo. That is when I believed. I also worked with Peter Kavita Tumbo, not in the same station. In the same station was in Kapenguria, but from Kapenguria, he was transferred to Garbatula, and me, I was at Habaswein. Now from Habaswein to Garbatula, there is only Modogashe hapo katikati. So we were being told, and even Peter Kavita Tumbo himself told me, that his father was the first African, kuvaa mawe, is the first African to be commissioned. But if you look at the gazette that was signed by the Queen, no, not the Queen, the governor on behalf of the Queen, it shows that he was not the first African to be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the army. There are others, Kina Mulinge and Dolo. But then the way he died, is the way, it is the reason why he was killed by shifters In the very same place, the son later went to work in the Modogashi. And if you go to areas like Isili, you go to areas like Isili, yes, and also which other place? You'll find Kina General Madenge. Oh, General Madenge is for the Mamo. But you'll find in Isili there is Sergeant whatever, road and whatever. These are military officers who died in the shifter war. That is why Kavita, not Kavita, Tumbo, Lieutenant Tumbo was so named. Then there was also another person who was confirmed as a lieutenant on the 22nd February 1962 was Peter Kakenyi. Peter Kakenyi was also commissioned as a full lieutenant on that day. Lastly, you'll not believe it, a person who was confirmed or promoted to full lieutenant on the 22nd February 1962 was one I said general, was one Mohammed Mahmoud. Mohammed Mahmoud. Mohammed Mahmoud, he later became the head of the Air Force and the chief of the general staff. He is the father-in-law to Aden Duale. And Mahmoud, I treat him as my uncle. And I almost ended up in the military because of him. Viewers, that is the list of those people who were commissioned, the first African people to be commissioned. I've always grown up, I was always told by Kavita himself that his father, Tumbo, the road is named Lieutenant Tumbo Street, hapo KICC. He told me that his father is the first person kuvaa mawe kwa jeshi. But as you can see, I came across that gazetted notice that those people who were commissioned late 1961 and early 1962. Thank you.